Hello, welcome. My name is Tom Copeland. I'm a trainer, author, and advocate for the business of family childcare. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 3 record-keeping tips for family childcare providers. Do you love record-keeping? Probably not. Most providers do not love record-keeping. I understand. But we're going to talk about the top 3 record-keeping tips that will make the biggest difference in reducing your taxes. There are lots of different record-keeping rules and things you have to do, but you want to focus on these 3 things. These will make the biggest difference in reducing your taxes. Here they are. First, save receipts for all your house-related expenses. Secondly, keep a daily record of all the meals and snacks that you serve to the children in your care. And 3, track all the hours you work in your home. All right, let's talk about them. Save all house receipts. As a family childcare provider, you're entitled to deduct all ordinary and necessary expenses for your business. Well, what's ordinary and necessary? It's an item that is typical, helpful, appropriate, useful, common in your business. And what is your business? Well, your job is to provide a home learning environment for children. Therefore, if you think about it, that includes essentially all expenses necessary to clean, repair, and maintain your home. What are we talking about? Property tax, mortgage interest, rent, utilities, gas, oil, electricity, garbage, water, sewer, cable TV, solar panels, house insurance, house repairs, furniture, appliances, equipment, everything outside your home, lawnmower, rake, garden hose, wheelbarrow, paying somebody to plow your driveway, paying somebody to mow your lawn, house cleaning supplies, light bulbs, toilet paper, detergent, soap, and so on, tools, garbage bag, rug. It's easier to think about what's not deductible. Your clothing, your hairspray, your yoga lessons, your bed if kids don't sleep on it, and so on. You want to save receipts for everything. I think it's easier to get into the habit of saving receipts for everything rather than worrying each time you buy something and you're looking at the receipt, you're saying, well, is that deductible? I'm not sure. Save it. Just save it all. Throw it in a jar, throw it in a file cabinet, put it somewhere, lump it all together. At the end of the year, you can sort it out. Some of the things may not be deductible. Most things are. Most providers pay too much in tax because they don't have the receipts for things that they were able to deduct but didn't realize. And most providers do not have a good understanding of all the hundreds and hundreds of house-related things that you can deduct. All right? Second, you want to keep a daily record of all the meals and snacks you're serving. You want to know for each child, each day. So Sally, Monday, got a snack, morning snack, breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack, whatever. We want to see that record. You want to record all the meals and snacks that you reimburse by the food program, and as well as all the meals and snacks that are not reimbursed by the food program. They all count. We want to know the totality of all these meals and snacks. Now, you want to be on the food program. You're always financially better off by being on the food program. Now, the reimbursements from the food program are taxable income, with the exception that if you get reimbursements for your own children, that's not taxable income. Any food that your own children eat is not a deduction. Any food that you eat at home is not a deduction. All right, now, do you want to win the lottery? Yeah, I think you do. We all do. Well, if you do, you're going to have to report it as income. And then you're going to pay some tax on it. But you'll always have more money after you pay the tax. You're not paying 100% tax on the lottery. Well, same idea with the food program. When you get money from the food program and report it as income on your tax return, your taxes are going to go up a little bit. But you're always going to have more money after you pay the taxes. So don't let anybody tell you that somehow it's not in your financial best interest to be on the food program, because it is. Now, how do we track these meals and snacks? Well, if you're on the food program, every month you're filling out that monthly claim form, and that's the record that you need. So save a copy of those monthly claim forms. If you're using a KidCare software program, you can keep records online. A little easier to do. KidCare.com, you can see how you do that. If you're putting all of these meals and snacks in there, you have to put in a nutritious component for each one you're entering. You could also track meals and snacks on a piece of paper on a spreadsheet. There's no magic. You just need to know for each child, each day, how many different meals and snacks that you serve them. Now, this extra meal and snack that you're not getting reimbursed for, many providers are doing that. They're serving some kind of afternoon snack, evening snack, whatever, not getting reimbursed. Well, the importance of tracking this is this. If you serve one snack each day to one child for a year, that's equal to a little bit more than a $200 deduction. Multiply the number of kids that you're serving extra non-reimbursed snacks by $200, and you'll realize this is a lot of money. This is why I want you to pay attention to that. Now, most providers use what's called the standard meal allowance method to claim their food expenses. And if you use this method, you don't need any food receipts. That's why this is so terrific. No food receipts. All you need to do is keep a record of how many meals and snacks each child ate, and then add them all up. So many breakfasts, so many lunches, so many snacks, and so on. And then you're going to be able to multiply it by this annual rate. So much for breakfast, so much for lunch, so much for supper, so much for snacks. Your food program sponsor, your child care resource and referral agency, they can tell you what this rate is for each year. Now, using this method, you can deduct up to one breakfast, one lunch, one supper, and 3 snacks per day per child if you serve that many. So, any non-reimbursed meal or snack does not have to be nutritious. So, you're serving, let's say, breakfast, morning snack, lunch. You're on the food program, you get reimbursed for that. Terrific. But now you're serving this afternoon snack. Well, what are you serving? Popsicle, cupcake, candy bar, apple? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be nutritious. Now, I'm not telling you to serve junk food. I'm just saying whatever you're serving counts. So one provider said to me, as children are leaving at the end of the day, they're walking out the door, she's passing out a cracker. And she's able to deduct that as a snack, even though the cost of the cracker is a lot less, let me say it again. The cost of the cracker is a lot less than what she's going to be able to get as a deduction for that cracker. So, that's the importance of tracking all this. If you haven't tracked these meals and snacks, the non-reimbursed meals and snacks, so far this year, go back and do a reconstruction. And use attendance records and fill it all out so that you have a more accurate record at the end of the year. All right, step number 3. You want to track all the hours you're working in your home. You want to track the number of hours children are present in your home, as well as the hours children are not present in your home. But you're still doing some kind of business activity in your home. All right, so let's look at this. Hours children are present. Let's say kids are there from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's 11 hours a day. That's the average number of hours providers across the country work each day caring for children. Well, that represents 33% of the year. Now, you want to track these hours from the moment the first child arrives until the last child leaves. You want to pay attention to pickup times, all right? Your pickup time is, let's say, 5. Well, We want to know when the last parent walks out, not when the last parent signs out. So the parent signs out at 5, I don't know, but they're sticking around talking to you. And you're going to the front porch and you're still talking. And now it's 5:30. And the last parent finally leaves. Well, you want to keep record of that. You want to write down it's 5:30 that day. Because if 30 minutes a day is really the case, it's always an extra half hour. Because parents are always late, they're always hanging around. Well, that equals 1.5% of the year. Your hours go up by 1.5%. Now that might not sound like a lot, but it is, because we're going to use this as part of a formula to determine how much of all your house expenses you can deduct. And because we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars of house expenses, 1.5% can certainly make a difference. Now, we can count the hours also that children are not present. Here's the big one that providers need to focus on. What are we talking about? Cleaning, meal preparation, meal planning, activity preparation, record keeping, food program paperwork, time on the internet, parent interviews, parent phone calls, the time you're spending listening to me right now. If children are not in your home and you're doing one of these activities, you want to record the time. So after you've listened to this video, take out a calendar, take out a piece of paper, and write down how much time you took listening to me. How do we track this? You can track these extra hours, kids are not there, on a calendar. Any kind of calendar, any kind of piece of paper. You can use the KidCare software program. What I strongly recommend is that you keep 2 months of careful daily records on a calendar. Monday, 5 a.m. to 5:30, cleaning before the kids arrive. And 6 to 6:45, cleaning after the kids left, whatever. Saturday, doing paperwork, doing activity preparation, whatever you're doing. 2 months. Really careful, your best job that you can. Then use the average for those 2 months for the rest of the year. The average number of hours, according to a national survey, is providers are working about 14 hours a week when children are not there. So, let's say for 1 month you worked 40 hours, and for another month you worked 46 hours. 40 and 46 equals an average of 43. So, if you can say that that average is typical of the rest of the year, use 43 hours for the entire year. This is the single most important thing you can do to reduce your taxes. Here's an example. We've got children present from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 12 hours a day. They're working 5 days a week, and you're working 50 weeks a year because you're taking a 2-week vacation. That's 3,000 hours for the year. Then you're tracking the hours children are not present, and you're doing some kind of business activity in your home. Let's say you're working 10 hours a week. 50 weeks a year, that's another 500 hours. The total, 3,000 plus 500 or 3,500 hours. There's a total of 8,760 hours in a year, so your time percent is 40%. So tracking these extra hours makes a big, big difference. That's what I want to say. Top 3 record-keeping tips. Make sure you're saving receipts for all your house expenses. Keep a daily record of all the meals and snacks you're serving, particularly those that are not reimbursed by the food program. And track all the hours you're working in your home, particularly those hours when children are not present. For more information, I've written a book, Family Child Care Record Keeping Guide, that lists over 1,000 deductions that you could claim. I've also done a DVD on the business of family child care record keeping. Both of these resources are available through Red Leaf Press. If you have questions after this video, I'm happy to try to answer them. Send me an email. I don't charge anything for answering questions. You might find an answer to your question on my website, tomcopelandblog.com, where I posted hundreds of articles on all aspects of record keeping. So good luck. Now, I'm not preparing your taxes. I'm not providing professional advice as part of this video. If you need professional assistance, you should seek it out. Funding for this video comes from the Child Care Communications Management Center, which is funded by the Office of Child Care, the Administration for Children and Families, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and was developed in partnership with the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance, which is funded by OCC, the Office of Head Start, ACF, and HHS. You can duplicate this video for non-commercial purposes without permission. So thanks for listening.